when we look at London, you have the city of London, which has these ancient traditions, and it was a commercial center from the early outset. Even in the 12th, 13th century, it was a bustling commercial center and the commercial center of England, even though it didn't have the vast population yet, but it would grow over the centuries. But the further down or rather the longer history went on for, and the more the British Empire started expanding with time, it really became a city on par with what Rome had been back in its day, or Baghdad in the 13th century before the Mongol invasion. It really was.
Yes, it is.
In many
You're right.
ways, the capital of the world.
It was the
New
capital
York
of the world. It was, yes,
of our time,
New
so
York
to
of our
say.
times. Yes. No, it was. It is remarkable to think this. Well, people say this small island. In actual fact, I think from a geographical point of view, Great Britain is the 10th largest island in the world. Take no point on that. But it is actually rather remarkable. You think of this sort of island on the windswept coast of northwestern Europe. Should certainly, and in this one city in this island, London, sort of so much of what went on in the world was decided.
Yes.
Rather exciting. And of course, a lot of it was based on industrial development. So because the British at the time built more ships than anybody else, the whole industry surrounding that, the commercial industry in the city, ship insurance, which is very important even to this day, Lloyd's of London.
Yeah.
They built out of it, developed out of the Lloyd's Coffee House, where people used to meet for a chat, and then they'd sort of take note of which ships arrive and go. All these sorts of things, which is still very, very important to the British economy. I mean, the argument today is that the British economy has become too concentrated in this one area, which then, as a result of Brexit, they failed somehow miraculously to protect. But anyway, we'll see what happens. That's a bit off. But yes, and so all these other trades grew up around it. You know, banking, obviously, and then the people who support bankers, lawyers, accountants, actuaries, all these other people. So the city itself became this very, rather strange, but very, very important.
And once the British Empire had grown to that enormous size that we know from the 19th century and the early 20th century, it was naturally a maritime empire. It didn't control the lands that were across the channel in France or the Netherlands or so. It was rather everything from Africa to Singapore to
I mean, yeah, exactly.
the Caribbean.
When you look at it, it was a remarkable achievement. I mean, it's not very popular to say these sort of things these days, but who cares? But it was a remarkable achievement, and of course, like so much of our day-to-day life, it was driven by trade. There were very few. In fact, I can't really think of any where somebody in London said, "Oh, let's send an army to capture that territory or that territory." It sort of happened accidentally. And often it was you took the ships, and it was places where ships sort of took on supplies.
And these ships, because they are naturally key for any maritime empire, they had to dock somewhere. And of course, London is a great place, with the River Thames playing a similar role as the River Vistula in one way for Krakow. But not all vessels and ships can dock in one port. So England had to have other ports, and a number of them, of course, were important back then and are important today. We spoke in an earlier episode about the Hanseatic League and how some Polish cities were also members. And in the Hanseatic League, you had the Hanseatic League proper, and then you had what the Germans called the Kontor, which is more or less office. So with slightly less rights and slightly less representation, but still in one way apart. And London had that status, but another city was Ipswich.
Ipswich, yes, on the east coast, obviously. That's closer to the Baltic.
And then, of course, with the discovery of the New World, the ports on the western coast of England grew in importance. And when we read about people setting off for the New World, and especially that famous Ellis Island in New York, usually those ships came from Liverpool.
Adam, sorry, I'm just going to have to stop you there. As usual, the clock has defeated us, but we'll pick it up next time. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not, if you join us next time on Poland Daily History, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story. Until then, thank you for watching.